Hey everyone, Duke here, and today we're going to go over how to complete the Drowning Labyrinth quest for the Sundered Doctrine dungeon. This video is going to go over how to find all of the worms as well as complete every single step in this quest. So the first thing you're going to need to do is complete the dungeon a single time, the first time, and once you've done that, you're going to want to kind of follow the path I am doing right now, and instead of going the normal way across the bridge to kind of get to the first encounter, you turn around right here and you're going to get yourself into this little bit of a secret room. Now once you do this, you're going to see this big wheel in front of you, and to the right here should be a report to pick up. This first report will be over here on the right. I've already picked it up, so it's not going to be here, but you're going to want to pick that up and then come over to the wheel, and you're going to want to input Savathûn enter pyramid. That's going to be the first one that we do. So we have Savathûn enter and pyramid, and then you'll go ahead and activate the little post here. Now once you've done that, you're going to want to find the first three worms, which we're going to go over next. The first worm is literally right away, basically when you leave this room and start going down the bridge to go to basically the normal way you would go to the first encounter. Instead, look off to the right and you will find some invisible platforms that you can use to get down to a doorway. You don't necessarily have to use these platforms. You can kind of just jump off and get down to this doorway. But in this doorway, the door will open and you will see the first worm. The second worm is going to be in kind of the giant area with a bunch of bats and enemies, and there's a big kind of building in the center, which we are going to use later in this video. But in the very far back of this room is going to be where the second worm is hidden. When you get here, you're going to need to actually shoot the door, kind of the mechanic we've seen in the final boss if you've ran this dungeon before, which you probably have if you're this far into the quest. But basically shooting the door will allow you to get in and get the second worm. And the third worm for this first section is going to be after the second encounter, just before the boss, when you get to the room with kind of the lens puzzle with enter and worm, and you need to turn the lenses to get enter to enter and worm to worm. This is going to be up in the top right section of the room, kind of just next to one of the lenses here by the worm, where the worm starts. And if you come up here, you can go ahead and activate this door, open it up, and find your third worm for this first part of the quest. Now once you've found these first three worms, you're going to want to come back to the room with the wheel, and you're going to input the symbols that were basically behind each of the worms, but if you didn't check those, it's going to be witness, give, darkness. So we'll go ahead and do witness, give, darkness here, and that's going to activate a puzzle later in the dungeon. Again, you can see deep within the pyramid, something shifts. Now you can actually do this part very easily because it is before the first encounter, so you can basically, when you get into the open room with the waterfall, where you head into the waterfall and you're basically dropping down at the first encounter immediately, there should be a couple shriekers and some new enemies in here that aren't normally here. And all you really need to do here is kill enemies until you get some of the knowledge stacks to drop, and you're going to want to pick up those knowledge stacks and bring them to the plate in the back of the room. You will notice when you start putting stacks of the knowledge into this plate that the plate will basically kind of like shrink, or like you'll kind of see a way that the plate is counting the stacks, and once the plate has completely filled with those stacks, the door behind you will open and you'll be able to go in there to get the dread knowledge that you need. Now once you've done that, you're going to need to complete the dungeon again, and then start from the beginning to get the second report, again in this secret room right about here. Again, I've already picked this one up as well, but it should be right about here. And once you've picked up that second report, you'll be able to get the next three worms. The first room for this part of the quest is before the first encounter, just after you kill the kind of two subjugators and drop off of the pressure plate. If you drop straight down into the first hole, you'll actually land exactly where you need to in order to activate this room and be able to hop in and get this worm. Do note if you do accidentally fall all the way down, you can hop back up here. It just may be a little bit more difficult, but you definitely can still get up to this part to get into this room. The next worm is going to be right after you drop down and almost fall into the pit, and instead of going off to the left where you normally would, where the big balls start basically trying to crush you, if you jump on this little ledge right as you can see in the video, it'll actually push down the wall, and the next worm will be behind this. And our final worm for this section is going to be after the lock set encounter, and before we get to the lens puzzle, basically on the way to the third encounter, And instead of going up towards the lens puzzle, again, if you get to the lens puzzle, you've gone too far. You're instead going to want to drop down basically one tier below where you would normally jump. Normally you would jump up kind of above where I'm jumping here, but if you jump in kind of into the second layer, there's going to be a door to the left that you can shoot, open up, and find the worm behind. Now once you have this next set of 3 worms, you're going to go ahead and come back to the wheel room, and you're going to enter Hive, Grieve, and Worm, and then go ahead and activate this again, which will give you the second puzzle for the dungeon. And so for this puzzle, we're going to head back to the exact same room where we found the last worm we just talked about. And instead of, again, going up towards where the lens puzzle is, you're going to go underneath. And here there should be a room with a shrieker in it, and basically a bunch of shriekers should all be around here if you're on this step. And once you go into that room, it's going to go ahead and activate those shriekers. So you're going to want to get ready to kill those. And if you go back a little bit, again, kind of underneath where we found that last worm, you should see a knight with a special name, and when killing it, it should drop you a glowing worm. Do note that once you pick up this worm, you are going to have 1 minute until it explodes and kills you, so you definitely want to be ready to run with this. I mean, it should be plenty of time, to be honest, but basically pick up the worm and then follow the path up to the room that we were starting in to activate this puzzle. Once you get into this room, you're going to want to go ahead and dunk the worm in the little spot that you can dunk it in. It's kind of on the far wall. That will then explode and open up the room for you to get the knowledge that you need. And once you've completed this second puzzle, you'll need to complete the dungeon again, and then come to the beginning, and the third little report is going to be here on the left side of this room. This report will allow you to find the third set of worms. Our 7th total worm, or first worm for this section, is going to be in the room where you did the first puzzle, basically right before the waterfall, before the first encounter. Up to the right here, you should now see an extra platform spawned, and from this platform, you're going to be able to go ahead and shoot this door. You can actually just jump across too. There is a little bit of extra space you can run, but shooting this door will open up and allow you to find the next worm. Our 8th worm is going to be very hard to not know if you're in the right spot, as it is in the ball drop area, where you can get crunched by the spiky ball. And of course, they're going to make you jump all the way to the top of this section in order to get this worm. It's going to be all the way to the very top left, so you're going to want to jump back and forth across these, get past the ball, and get all the way to the top left of this room. There will be an activate lever, and you will be able to activate this in order to get through the wall and get the next worm. And the final worm will be right after the lens puzzle, and before you shoot the door that you normally basically teaches you the shoot door mechanic in the raid to continue to the boss. In the very back right corner of this room, kind of behind where the subjugator spawns, there will be a platform you can jump on, and it is basically a pressure plate. It just will sink down, and you'll be able to get into the room for the final worm. At this point, we'll need to head back to the starting wheel room, and this time we're going to need to enter Guardian Brain Fleet. And again, this is going to activate a puzzle later in the dungeon in order to help you find the control chamber. Now this puzzle will be in the giant room after the first encounter and after the maze, basically with the giant building in the middle that people were speculating and wondering what was going to be in there. And this puzzle is going to now, in this room, going to have a bunch of shriekers, there's going to be lens bears, there's going to be a bunch of lenses that weren't here before. And this puzzle is honestly pretty self-explanatory in terms of, like, there's not really many ways to mess it up. I just kind of followed the lights and it just worked. But you're going to basically kill the lens bears, pick up lenses, put them in the spots where you need to have lenses, which there should be 3 of them, and just follow the light around. Basically, if the light's not currently pointing at a lens, just turn it so that it is. And if it's pointing at a lens that doesn't have a lens, or if it's pointing at a lens holder that doesn't currently have a lens in it, then that's when you're going to pick up a lens and basically put that in that lens holder. And just continue that process. I'm going to go ahead and show the entire footage of us putting this together and figuring out for the first time. I'll go ahead and put it at double speed though, so this part isn't so long. But again, basically just follow the footage or just follow the lights and you will be fine. Now, once you place the final lens in the center, it should activate the wheel above the door and open the door and allow you to gain entry inside. You will notice that there is a set of 3 symbols: worm, give, and guardian, and you can go ahead and activate the little pillar here to continue the quest, which will ask you to complete the dungeon one final time. Now this time when you defeat the final boss, the door behind the final boss will actually open up and lead you into a secret room. At the back of the secret room is going to be a chest, and this chest will give you the class item for your character, the catalyst for the exotic if you have the exotic, as well as progress the quest to the final step. Now there is actually one final step after this. It's literally just talk to Ikora, but you do want to do this and actually talk to Ikora to completely complete the quest, as that is going to allow you to start focusing gear when you complete this dungeon. So once you've talked to Ikora and fully completed the quest, you will want to come back to the wheel room again and pick up another research here on the left side of the wheel. This is going to allow you to become fully initiated. And from here, every single time you do the dungeon, once per week per character, you'll be able to input on the wheel the symbols worm, give, and guardian, and that is going to allow you to focus gear. Now each room that has the worms in it is going to then basically allow you to activate the symbol itself. Like if you actually walk up to the symbol, you'll be able to activate it, and each symbol corresponds to a different piece of gear, either the weapons or the armor. Now, as of right now, I'm not sure exactly what symbol corresponds to what gear. I'll make sure to put that in the comments below and pin it as a comment once we know that for sure. But basically, finish the dungeon after activating one of these symbols, and that's going to give you one guaranteed piece of gear that you want per week per character. And that's all for today. I hope my complete guide to the Drowning Labyrinth quest was helpful and towards you getting your class items, your catalysts, and also focusing some of this awesome gear. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and have a wonderful day.